one of the best ways to commit, not having a plan B. Once I found something that worked, I just refined it. I sell from a biblical perspective. And so if I want to be great at sales, I have to sell to serve the people, not sell so the people can serve me. Number two, love your clients so much that you would never sell them anything that would do them harm.
I hate the old saying that, oh, they are so good they can sell ice to an Eskimo. No, I'm not going to sell ice to an Eskimo. I'm going to sell them a coat. I'm going to sell them warmer gloves. That's what Myron's talking about. You're selling them what they need based on the problems you help them find.
Most salespeople who are terrible think that selling is convincing people to buy something they don't want to buy.
Exactly.
Persuasion and convincing are not just not the same, they're actually opposites of each other. Convincing is when I attempt to get you to do something I desire you to do for my reasons. Persuasion is when I help you make a decision you already desire to make for your own reasons.
All right, Jeremy Miner, welcome to another episode. Now, look, you want to learn how to persuade, influence, and sell at the highest level. You're going to want to pay attention to the guests that I have today. I've even studied a lot of his material as well, which has helped us as an organization, a sales training organization. So this gentleman, let me give you a little bit of his background, is a business growth strategist. He's also a best-selling author, and he specializes in speaking from stage and helping entrepreneurs scale their companies. He's got a business called Skillionaire. It's all about the skills. We talk about the skills. Skills pay the bills, right? And Myron, we're going to talk about it, combines biblical principles with practical business tactics to help his clients achieve rapid, sustainable success. He's got a couple books, Trash Man to the Cash Man, I actually have that, and Boss Moves, and he offers actionable insights into live programs and events and how you actually frame your offer, because it's not about your solution. Your solution could be the best thing in the world, but to the prospect's mind, those solutions kind of sound similar. They don't really know the difference. So it's all how you frame your offer, how you frame your solution, which is going to separate you from everybody else. Myron Golden, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to be here.
I mean, Goldman, we could change your last name, Goldman. I like that, dude. There you go. Okay, so first of all, you know, we got everybody here is in sales. They want to persuade, they want to influence in some way.
Sure.
How did you get involved in
sales? Yeah, kind of incidentally. I first got involved in sales not knowing I was involved in sales.
Okay.
I came home for my first year in college. I came home for the summer. I bought a car out of the Pakistan Herald in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania for $50.
$50?
$50. Drove it around all summer. I knew it wasn't going to drive back to Indiana from Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So a friend of mine said, hey, do you want to sell that car? Yes, I do. How much do you want for it? $300. He gave me $300 for a car that I bought $50 for. That's
your first sales.
That was my first sales experience.
Okay.
Yeah. And then when I was done with college and I got married, I was looking for something to do, and one of my former college professors said, hey, do you want to make a lot of money? No. Yeah.
That's like asking somebody, do you like to drink water? And you say water filters.
No. Yeah. I'm allergic to water. Right. Yeah. So, and I said, yeah. He said, well, my brother-in-law just got started with this business. He's making a lot of money. Blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, I'm open for that. He says, well, let me see if we can find a local office. And it was an office that sold insurance and investments.
Okay.
Through the company called A.L. Williams. Which now later became Primerica. It was network marketing of insurance and mutual funds.
Sense, yeah.
And so I went to the office for an interview. My wife and I both went for some reason, but we both went. Saw their presentation. I thought, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And the guy who had the office was making $10,000 a month in 1985.
That's a lot of cash. Yeah.
That was a lot of cash in 1985.
Like 60 grand a month now? 70 grand a month?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So I got started in that, but I was terrible.
Yeah. Imagine that.
I was terrible.
So you're terrible. So
like really terrible, though, not kind of terrible.
So you're suggesting you weren't born with like advanced questioning skills or advanced tonality skills?
Oh no, I had advanced like really messing up sales skills. Like I was terrible. I did presentation after presentation after presentation.
Yeah.
And literally did gobs and gobs of presentations for a year and a half before I made my first sale.
Interesting. Why is it? So network marketing is a big industry we train, and I always have an issue with network marketing. Network marketing is the third industry I actually sold in.
Okay.
And I always had an issue because when you would come in, they're like, "There's no selling involved. Just bring people to the meetings, blah blah blah." And I'm like, "You guys are killing your people because everything is sales and communication."
100%.
So would you feel like that might be a problem in network marketing? They kind of give that mentality so nobody learns how to communicate.
Yes, I think that is a symptom of the problem.
Yeah.
The problem is they're attempting to make people believe that something that's hard is easy.
Yeah.
Right? Because selling is not easy, it's just worth it.
If you learn the right skills.
But not learning how to sell
Exactly.
is not easy either.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So you just have to pick your easy and pick your hard.
Yeah. It is like if you want to be a neurosurgeon, you have to
Right.
learn how to operate on the brain. It's
Right.
pretty hard if you don't learn how to
Operate on the brain. Exactly.
It's the same thing in any profession.
In any profession.
So how did you, like, I'm assuming they didn't just go in there and give you some advanced training. You had to kind of figure this out on your own.
I did, yeah. So I memorized the presentation that was in the flip chart back then because that's what we used.
Right, yeah.
And it was terrible. Yeah. I was looking for a better word, but it was terrible.
Yeah.
And I did the presentation, but even though I wasn't making sales, I was still booking appointments and doing presentations. And I was paying attention to the feedback I was getting. And the feedback was basically, no, bro, right?
And it's so interesting because when I got into network marketing, I'm like, this is the easiest thing to sell because everybody's a prospect. Everybody wants to make more money. Everybody wants to have more time. So why are people not joining?
Because most people who are reps in most companies that rep anything are actually more misrepresentatives than they are representatives.
I like that. That's good, man. Yeah, I like that. So you just kind of figured this out.
I did.
How did you figure it out? Did you recognize patterns? What did you do?
So after 18 months, I made my first sale.
Okay. That's a lot of dedication. That's a lot of commitment to stay in there.
But it is. But see, you know, one of the best ways to commit, not having a plan B.
Yeah, burning the boats. Says, yeah.
Exactly. I didn't have a plan B.
Yeah.
There was I had polio as an infant. There was no professional athletics in my future.
You weren't going to be on the track team.
I wasn't going to be on the track team. Wasn't going to be in the NBA. So I didn't know how to play golf.
Yeah.
So none of that was it.
Yeah.
So what am I going to do? I'm going to do something.
Yeah.
And these were the only people I had ever seen in my life who were making like real crazy significant money.
So you made your first sale. What happened after that?
I just paid attention to what I did, and I took the thing that worked finally.
Yeah.
And instead of getting bored with it, I got paid with it and put it on rinse and repeat. I just kept doing the same thing over and over. Repetition. Once I found something that worked, I just refined it.
Yeah. And where did you start learning how to refine it? Did you go through trial and error? Did you learn from somebody?
I did go through a lot of trial and error, and I read a lot of books.
Yeah.
So I started out, I read Tom Hopkins' How to Master the Art of Selling Anything. That's where I started, right? And so the two things that I got from Tom Hopkins' book that changed my life were, number one, learning to love no.
Yeah.
And number two was STP 20. STP stands for see 20 people, belly to belly, every day.
Okay.
And so I said, okay, those are things I can do.
You can do that. You can control those things.
I can control the inputs.
You're having to play the numbers game.
Exactly.
So how did you go from like, okay, I know how to play the numbers game. Now I got to really double down, triple down, quadruple down on my skill game.
Right.
Because obviously, as you know, the numbers game is only going to get you so far because there's just one of you.
That's right.
How did you start developing? Where did you start? Like, hey, I got to learn these skills.
I went to a lot of trainings, a lot of seminars.
Yeah.
Read a lot of books, and then implemented the things that I learned or heard, because I didn't really learn them, implemented the things that I heard, and then learned from the responses that I got.
Which couple of books do you feel like, because books are books, as you know, they're kind of an introduction to the thing you're wanting to master, right? You're not really mastering it from a book, but it's like an intro. What are a couple of books that kind of set you on that path of like, hey, there's more to this than what I know so far?
Yeah, the greatest salesman in the world for me was really Og Mandino.
Yeah, okay,
Og Mandino. In fact, all of Og Mandino's books were really great for me. Also, some cassette tapes that I had back then.
Yeah.
The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale.
Okay.
That was one of my favorites.
Yeah.
And one by Jim Rohn called The Day That Changes Your Life.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I listened to those, and because like in hindsight, I can see what happened. While I was doing, I didn't know what was happening. I'm going to figure this thing out.
You're just kind of following what they were doing. You didn't know why you're doing it.
Right. And so, but in hindsight, I realize like the ultimate tech stack in selling is mindset plus skill set plus tool set equals assets.
Yeah.
And so
it's pretty hard to fail if you have those three down.
Right. And what happens, I think one of the biggest problems in people learning how to sell is they'll get a tool set like they'll get an autoresponder or Instagram messaging bot or something, and they think the tool set's going to fix their problem. Or they'll learn a skill set in the form of tactics, but they don't have the mindset. And so they're saying the right thing with their mouth, but their energy is telling the truth on them.
Yeah, because their tonality, it's the way you say it. Like I always ask, how are salespeople in every industry who sell the same thing at the same price points to the same prospects using the same script get completely different results?
100%.
That's exactly what you just said.
Exactly. And it's not just their tonality, it's how they feel when they're saying
it's their certainty.
Yes, it's their certainty. It's their. I like to tell people, you can lie with your words, but your energy always tells the truth.
Yeah, it's like if a salesperson gets an objection, most of them they get all defensive and their face gets flustered in person, and then your prospects, like their spidey senses, their survival part of the brain picks up on that, and then their guard's up.
Senses,
But if you're like, I always call it the spidey senses, if you're like relaxed and just calm, they stay calm. Their nervous system stays calm.
Right.
So how did you, most people don't know those type of things about the brain and getting the guard down. And I've read those books that you have there. So there's much more deeper stuff that you've obviously learned from to learn like how to get somebody to let their guard down.
Sure. So like the thing that impacted my life first and foremost, even in network marketing, was a mentor. Like having a mentor who understood the game at a much higher level than I did, and then paying him whatever he charged.
Why is that so important? Like because I want everybody to pay attention to what Myron's saying here. This is like key number one for you to get where you want to go. Because
they've been there, done that, got 2 t-shirts. And if they're good, they know why they've gotten there. All mentors are not created equally. Right? There are some people who are successful because they were at the right place at the right time and they had the right skill set. They didn't have the right mindset though, so they can't teach you how to have the mindset if they didn't have to develop the mindset.
So true.
And so, so this meant the other reason I think it's important is because people who pay attention. And people who pay a little attention. People who pay a lot of attention, and people who pay nothing don't pay any attention at all.
As you call them, the freeple people.
The freeple people.
I want to talk about those framing techniques in a minute, because those are brilliant framing techniques. Take me back to this mentor, because I always say the most, and I've learned this from somebody, whoever I'm quoting, just I give you the credit. The most successful people learn from their mistakes, but the most successful people, the top 0.01%, they don't learn from their mistakes, they learn from other people's mistakes. They don't make the same mistakes themselves, because they're all about speed to, like, I want to overcome the learning curve like next week, next month, not in 5 years or 20 years.
Exactly. It's the ultimate. A mentor is the ultimate shortcut. Exactly. It's the ultimate shortcut.
100%.
And time is more valuable than money. And so what people will do is, it's like they suffer from Walmart syndrome. I don't know if I can say that or not, but I already said it. So what they'll do is they'll go to this big ginormous store and waste a whole bunch of time to save 13 cents. It doesn't make sense. Time is the stuff that life is made of. I would rather waste the money and save the time than waste the time and save the money.
It's the cost. It's the frame of like, how much is this actually costing you? If you're a salesperson, how much is this costing you in lost deals every day because you haven't committed to mastering the right skills? You're dabbling in those skills. I love this. So you get into sales, you start doing really, really well. Then how did you get into being on stage? Because that's a whole different sales process, and then selling to a person, like in network marketing, you're selling to consumers. Now you're selling in front of a huge audience.
It is.
Those are different things you have to learn.
It is, and there's so much that speakers who are good at speaking don't understand about the speaking business, because they're not the same thing. They're not even almost the same thing. And the same mentor who really helped me shortcut sales in general really helped me shortcut selling from the stage.
Okay. So they're an expert in selling from stage.
This guy was an expert. He was his path was pretty much the same as mine. Got started in network marketing, and then started doing training in network marketing, then started selling from the stage. And so I got started in network marketing, and if you're good at network marketing, which I was good at it, then you also have the opportunity to train people. So I got good at training people, and I thought because I was good at training people, and I thought because I was good at selling one-on-one, that would automatically make me good at selling from the stage. But that's not it.
Why is that?
Because they're totally different skill sets. For the same reason that riding a tricycle is not the same as riding a motorcycle. For the exact same reason.
Because now you're not like, if you're selling to a consumer, like if they have a concern or objection, you're dealing with that and you can talk with them. Let's say you're in front of an audience of 2,000 people. You've got all sorts of different concerns and objections going in their brain, all these stories that they make up on why they can't get started in your thing. And so like, how are you going to take that out of their mind?
Right, and how you take that out of their mind is by getting them to replace that story with another story, not by you attempting to replace that story with another story.
You're helping them, and it's like I went to school as a psychologist, so you're basically what you're doing is you're taking them out of their belief systems. We call them frames, belief systems that they have, the stories, and you're reframing them into a new belief system of the possibilities of what you know can be possible for them.
100%.
So there's a lot of techniques that go into that. Talk about like how did you actually get involved? Like, hey, I'm now speaking on stage.
So
at training
because
marketing?
I got tired of network marketing.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm not doing this anymore because I got tired of network marketing company owners changing the compensation plan. And now my income goes to crap because they decided they wanted to do something different. I said, this is stupid. If I'm building a business and some knucklehead's going to mess up my business opportunity, I want the knucklehead to be me, not somebody that I don't know.
Most of the time they just don't know. They think the compound sounds good in the beginning, but they don't realize this could go happen, this could happen, what if, and then they're like, oh shit, we're not making any money, we got to change it.
Right, this is not, like network marketers don't realize that if you are a rep in a network marketing company, that is not your business, right?
You're a 1099.
You're a 1099 in somebody else's business.
General contractor.
That is your vendor. They are not your,
So true.
It's not your company. Anyway, so I got out of that, and a friend of mine started a network marketing company.
Okay.
And he said, hey, if you'll come train my people, I'll pay you $20,000. I said, okay.
Okay, yeah.
That's easy. That's an easy yes.
You can do that.
Right? Yeah. And so he paid me $20,000, and I went and trained his people. And another friend of mine who had the same mentor said, hey, man, you need to have Jerry come speak at this event. And I'm like, I don't need to have Jerry come speak at this event. Why would I need him to speak at the event? It's my event. It's not his event. But I let him talk me into it. So I was allowed to sell to the people in his organization. There were only like 35 people there. But I was allowed to sell. I made an offer. I did $350 in sales.
Good.
Jerry, my mentor, he wasn't my mentor then. He was just a guy I bought some of his courses from. He teaches the same group, and they buy $3,500 worth of stuff from him. I'm like, wait, what just happened? And awesome. Jerry says, you're flying out of Dallas tomorrow, right? I said, yeah. He said, come in early. I'll give you some tips on speaking.
Interesting.
So I go meet Jerry for breakfast. It turns into breakfast. It turns into brunch. And we're there for 2 hours.
Wow.
And me and Stan and Jerry are at lunch, and Jerry's breaking down the speaking business. I'm taking notes like crazy. I took probably 15 pages of notes in a 2-hour lunch. And we got done. Jerry says, oh, don't worry about it. I got lunch. I said, oh, no, sir. You're not going to teach me how to make $1 million and buy my lunch. Now, what's fascinating about that is probably 10 years later, I told him my recount of that story. He said, oh, yeah, I remember that. He said, if you'd let me buy lunch that day, I wouldn't have had anything else to do with you, because I would have realized that you were a taker and not a giver.
Because how much money did he really give you there?
Right.
Millions of dollars in knowledge.
Millions upon millions upon millions. And so I implemented what he said, and the very next time I spoke, it was like, there were like 135 people. I did $5,900 in sales, and it was off to the races after that.
You're like, hey, there's something to this.
There's something to this. And then there were people in that audience, because I was teaching network marketers how to sell their network marketing stuff, and I was selling them courses on how to do that. And so the next time I spoke, two people were in that audience. One person booked me for 2 weeks out. Another person booked me for 2 weeks after that. I did $8,800 in sales and $6,600 in sales. I'm like, you mean I can go and talk about stuff I know about to people who care about it, make them an offer, and get paid thousands of dollars a week? Okay, sign me up for that program.
This is kind of fun.
Yeah, this is fun.
Now, so a lot of selling from stage, because I want to talk about this, and this applies to you, watching me here or listening to us, whether you sell virtually, if you sell on the phone, if you sell in person, doesn't really matter. A lot of it is about interrupting patterns, right? So pattern interrupting. So what's maybe something that you do that's kind of unique on how you interrupt the audience's pattern? It could be the start, middle, end, to like really get them to stay engaged and curious about what's going on.
So I think one of the most important things that any salesperson can learn to do is to help the people that you're selling to do things that are in your best interest
for their best interest. Exactly. And I'm going to ask you this question, and you hit it right on the spot. Is selling, I always ask everybody, and you already answered it. Is selling something that you do to people, or is selling something you do for people?
Something you do for people.
Exactly. Why is that? I think a lot of salespeople don't understand that yet.
Well, first of all, because everybody already desires to buy stuff.
Yeah.
Everybody desires to buy stuff.
Yeah.
And if you have something good, and it can impact somebody's life, and you sell it to them, you get a little bit of money, they get a lifetime transformation.
Exactly, yeah.
Like, how could that possibly be something I'm doing to people?
Like I always said, like who has the problems, your prospects or you? The
Exactly.
prospect has the problem, not you. You're the one that can solve it. So you got to start viewing selling differently than most salespeople have.
100%.
Most salespeople are viewed like, oh, it's adversarial, you against the prospect. You're doing it to them, and that's why they play the numbers game.
I have a client, and some people are going to say, this is the crazy, they must be insane. Okay, well, they're insanely rich now. Yeah. But they were stuck at $1.2 million a year for 3 years.
Okay.
They came into my
a business owner? Or?
A business owner.
Okay, business
owner.
Okay.
They came into my coaching program, my $350,000 VIP day. It's $375,000, but then it was $350.
Yeah.
I gave them, within 3 months, I gave them the opportunity to upgrade to my $1 million coaching program, and they did.
Yeah.
In less than 6 months, they had a $1.2 million day. Actually, they sold from the stage. They did $1.2 million in sales in an hour.
Exactly.
In an hour, and they did $5 million last year.
Yeah. 5 extra.
I got $1 million.
Yeah.
They got 4 extra million.
Yeah, and what are they going to get this year
and
next year?
Right, and they get paid on that for the rest of their life. And I got paid once.
Yeah, and see, if Myron didn't have the communication skills, the ability to help them overcome their fear of change, that whatever their story was that was holding them back, they'd still be at 1.2 million. So that is why learning how to communicate is like the most important skill set you could literally have in life. I always say it, like, was Elon Musk the only person that had the concept of electric cars?
No.
Unlikely. He
wasn't even the first.
He just knew how to communicate it the best.
Right.
Everybody that you see on TV or anybody, they're there because they've learned how to communicate and frame their message the best.
Yes.
That's why communication skills are so important. So, pattern interrupting. Let's go back to the cheapo and the freepo stuff. Where did you come up with that concept?
I don't even remember, actually.
Yeah.
I do. A guy named Larry in Tampa. I heard him say something about cheapo people one time.
Okay.
He said something about freepo people. I'm like, freepo people? That's a real. And then I just started playing with it. Freepo people, cheapo people, feeple people, and then prepo people.
Prepo people. And can you tell everybody what that is? Because I think that's really good, because you've got this audience, you've got all these people here watching you. They've got all these different type of concerns, and so you can't go talk to them individually and find out what their concerns are. You're up on stage, and you've got to eliminate those. You got to prevent those objections, right? And you deframe them.
If you think about it, freepo people, cheapo people, prepo people, feeple people, and prepo people, those are all identity shifts.
They
right?
are, yeah.
They're identity
and
shifts.
It's reality.
Right. So freepo people, who are they? Like, freepo people, I don't work with freepo people. Freepo people who want everything for free.
Yeah.
If you want everything for free, good. Go get it from somebody else.
Yeah.
But I don't want to pay. Great.
Yeah.
You don't have to pay me, and I don't have to deal with you. Everybody's happy.
Well, it's like a salesperson who's not willing to invest in their skill level, and then you ask them, well, what objections are you getting from your prospects? And it always comes back to
the same
cost.
ones.
It's too expensive. We can't afford it, and they buy in, and they can't overcome those objections because they believe that story too.
Exactly.
There's no way they can overcome
exactly.
it.
So they actually are in agreement ideologically with that identity. Prospect.
You are the objection you give.
Exactly. Yeah. 100%.
So you got the freepo people.
Freepo people.
Yeah. Who do you
have
next?
And then the next are the cheapo people. They only want stuff for cheap, right? Like there's a certain brand that says we sell cheap stuff cheap. I'm sorry, we sell good stuff cheap. Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't want cheap stuff. I just want good stuff. Good stuff lasts longer. Yeah. Cheap stuff is more expensive than quality stuff.
Because you have to keep buying it.
You have to keep buying it over and over.
Yeah.
And so cheapo people want everything as long as it's cheap. I'll buy it as long as it's cheap. And then
we would call those type of salespeople dabblers. They're the dabblers. They buy a few sales books a year.
Right.
They follow you on Instagram or YouTube to get
Try
some free tips. You know, they go to a free event and they say, like, as long as I stay in it long enough, get enough reps, eventually I'll figure it out. And that's where most salespeople are. They stay average.
But eventually, not only eventually we figure out, eventually you'll be dead.
Yeah.
So you got to outrun the eventually I'll be dead.
Yeah, and nobody knows when that is.
Exactly.
That's the great part about life. Okay, so you get the cheapo people.
Cheapo people.
And then what's the next?
Feeble people.
What's that?
People who are willing to pay a fee, right? And they're willing to pay $1,000 to go to an event, or they're willing to pay $5,000 to buy a course, right? They're feeble people.
Yeah.
And, you know, they can have some transformation.
Yeah.
But the rapid
They get
transfer.
some success.
They get some success.
They see some result. We
They
call
do.
those the know-it-allers. Think they know
Exactly.
everything about, because they buy a couple courses, they
Courses.
might start making like
Yes.
low six figures a year, and then their income
And they
gets
become a copy of a
capped.
cliche.
They get capped because they don't keep
Exactly.
learning. Yeah, I like that.
And then the highest level is people. Those are people who are willing to pay a premium.
Yeah.
And people who are willing to pay a premium are deserving to receive a premium.
Yeah. So true.
It's literally a rite of passage.
Yeah.
Like, I like to ask this question. If I'm talking to an audience or if I'm talking to a person, how would you like to have a multitude of people lined up outside your business, out the door, around the block, cash and credit card in hand, clamoring to buy whatever you'd love to sell? Would that be awesome?
Yes.
Okay, cool, perfect. So I'm going to tell you how you can have that. Are you ready?
Yeah.
But I have to ask you a question first. What does a tree have to do to bear apples?
Has to grow.
It has to grow. And that's what people say. It has to grow. It has to have water. It has to have sunlight. But you know the most important thing it has to do? It has to be an apple tree. Now what does that mean? That means everything reproduces after its own kind. And you don't get a multitude of people lined up out the door and around the block ready to buy your stuff until you become that kind of buyer. We don't attract the kind of buyers we want. We attract the kind of buyer we are.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. So you're putting them in an identity frame. And remember, he's not doing it to them, he's doing it
for them.
Because if he doesn't do this to them, they feel no need to change, and that's why they don't have the urgency to do anything.
So let's talk about your event. What's the name of your event?
NEPQ Mastery would be our next one. And then
Well, what's
we
it
have,
stand for? What is it?
Neuro-emotional persuasion questions. That's my
Okay,
methodology.
neuro-emotional
And
persuasion.
Our bigger events are called SalesCon Live.
SalesCon Live.
SalesCon
Okay.
Live, yeah.
So here's what I know. Everybody who come, how much are tickets to that event?
Oh, SalesCon Live, it's a little bit less, like $1,000.
$1,000. Okay. So you have. Let's say you have 1,000 people who paid $1,000 to come to SalesCon Live. They're not there because they want a chicken sandwich.
Yeah.
So they've already told me what they want.
Yeah.
All I'm doing, if I'm speaking at that event, is showing them how they can get the thing they've already told me by their presence that they desire to have. That's why when I sell them something for a premium, I'm doing something for them because they told me what they want by being there.
Yeah.
They provided the content, I provide the context.
Yeah, because you're not going to master anything from a 3-day seminar.
That's right.
What's the saying? You can't
teach a kid to ride a bike at a seminar.
From Sandler.
Exactly.
Okay, so I want to go back into this. This is really good. So the Freeple people, I love that kind of stuff, that framing. Now, I want to make sure all of you understand. Like, you can use a frame like that, but really selling from stage, selling in person, selling on the phone, selling virtually, it doesn't matter. It's a series of frames. Like, one frame is not typically going to help that prospect overcome the fear of change, right? As you know, every objection you get, every reason why somebody doesn't buy comes down to the core that you're human and you have a fear of change, right? You can't see what's on the other mountainside. You have to pay first and then you get to see what's on the other side. So you have that little fear. So it's helping them overcome that fear by continually taking them out of their frames or belief systems and reframing and looping. So the reframing, where did you start to develop that from?
Yeah, Jerry, same guy, taught me how to reframe stuff. And then once I learned some reframes from Jerry Clark, then I started watching speakers and seeing how they reframe things.
You saw the patterns. Have you ever watched Tony Robbins?
I have.
Yeah, good. I just went to his Date with Destiny a couple of months ago, and I went to see the D-frames and the reframes. Like, oh, that's a good reframe. What have you learned from Tony?
The most I've learned from Tony was from some of his early stuff. He was probably in his 20s.
Yeah. Okay.
The best stuff that I learned from Tony Robbins, I learned from this old stuff. Like, I had it on cassette tape.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah. And I think my favorite Tony Robbins quote / concept is, if you want to model any form of human excellence, you have to find somebody who's really, really good at it and model 3 things. Number 1, you model their belief systems. Number 2, you model their mental syntax. And number 3, you model their physiology. So you model their belief systems. You ask them what they believe about X, Y, Z. You ask them the order in which they fire off messages in their brain. That's the syntax. And then you learn how to hold your body in time and space like they hold their body in time and space. And I have found that to be so dynamically powerful and works so well. The other thing, my second favorite thing that I've ever heard Tony say is you don't get to control what happens to you. You get to control three things. What am I going to do about it? What does this mean to me? And what am I going to do next? Those are probably my 2 favorite Tony Robbins
frames. It's how you
frames.
react to the thing when it happens that separates you apart. Most people react in a negative way. It's the radical. He talks about like, hey, if you were abused as a child, well, you need to give them you need to radically blame them for your success because they did that to you. It actually caused you like something to happen. Maybe you got a chip on your shoulder. Maybe you just went all. Not to say abuse is right, obviously, but whatever happened to you as a kid, like got you where you're at. Right? That's how your brain thinks, your worldview, and maybe put that chip on your shoulder to be successful and drive. So without that, maybe you grew up in an extremely wealthy family. Maybe you wouldn't be where you're at right now. He even talks about himself. Okay, so let's talk about where did you? Okay, so the reframing techniques. I want to go back into that. So you get up there. You're up on stage. Okay, you got 1,000 people there. Typically for, let's say you're doing this for another company or even yourself, like kind of what their objections are going to be. Maybe kind of share a few things that you do to like maybe the top 3 objections on how you kind of eliminate them from their mind.
So what would those objections be, for instance?
Let's say that they have an objection, like your objection you typically get from them is like, oh, I just don't have time to learn how to do this. Let's say that's a time objection. Okay. A lot of audiences are going to have that, like when you're selling like training or something. I don't have time to learn how to do this. I'm busy. I'm learning from someone else. I don't have the time. Okay.
So you're asking me how I'd reframe it.
Well, just overall strategy. Yeah.
Okay, so what I do is people say, Myron, how do you overcome objections? I just don't get them.
And prevent them.
Right, exactly. I don't get objections because an objection is a question that you didn't answer in your presentation, and so it got infected and festered into an objection. So if somebody says, I don't have time, it's because there was something in your presentation that didn't address the fact that if you don't take time to get better, you're just going to get worse over time. Right? And so
you're seeding that frame into their
first.
mind.
And so how do I reframe that is I use an epigram like I just did, which is if you don't take time to get better, you're going to get worse over time. So I took the concept of time and I showed both sides of that time coin. Generally speaking, when people have an objection, it's because they're only looking at one aspect of the thing that they're objecting to. They're not looking at the other aspect of it. For instance, let's say somebody says, well, but I just don't want to pay that much. Okay, you don't want to pay that much. Do you believe you're smart? Yes. Do you believe one smart person can teach another smart person something they know how to do? Yes. If somebody's made millions and millions of dollars, if you're smart and they're smart, could they teach you how to do it? Yes. Okay. So write down $1 million at the top of a piece of paper. And then write down how much you made last year. Subtract it from the million.
So let's say they made $200,000 last year.
Subtract it
from their 800 grand.
So because you don't want to pay me $50,000 to learn how to sell better, you paid life $800,000 for not knowing.
See what you just did. This is brilliant. So you took them out of price or cost-based thinking and you reframed them to results-based thinking because that's the result they want.
Exactly.
They just have this fear of change on, well, I don't know if it'll work for me. I don't know how to get it, right? So what all Myron did there is he took them out of that price or cost-based thinking frame and he's reframing them.
And it's not like I'm making this up. I'm not manipulating them. I'm just helping them become aware of something that's currently real in their experience that they're unaware of. And then I'd say something like, okay, So the problem is, though, that it didn't just cost you $800,000. That's just how much it cost you last year, and the year before that, and the year before that, and the year before that, and the year before that. Here's the question I have for you. Would you rather pay life again $800,000 this year for not knowing, or would you rather pay me so you can learn and you don't have to live into the land of not knowing anymore?
Which is costing you more.
Exactly.
In reality, which is more expensive.
Exactly.
And then in their brain, they're like, it's way more expensive if I don't pay.
Exactly.
And so all he's doing is reframe them out of way of thinking. And that's what you want to do with your prospects. It doesn't matter if you sell windows or life insurance, or if you sell,
solar,
cybersecurity to Bank of
exactly.
America.
It's all the same thing.
It's all the same. They're human beings,
Yep.
and they have belief systems that you have to take them out, and you're doing it for them,
not to them.
To them.
100%.
That is the massive difference. I love that. Okay, and that was your. What would you call that frame that you use? Is that your I know.
Well, it's the price versus cost frame.
I like that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or the price versus worth frame. Poor people know how much everything costs. Rich people know how much everything's worth. That's the difference. If you want to be rich, start asking better questions.
I love that.
How much is it worth?
How much is it worth? All right, a couple other questions here. What would you say is the key principle behind your approach? Let's get into the entrepreneur stuff. What is the key principle behind your approach to business coaching that maybe would set you apart from just a lot of the wannabes out there that sell business coaching? Or
so I think the two biggest things are, one, I sell from a biblical perspective.
Yeah.
And so if I want to be great at sales, I have to sell to serve the people.
Yeah. Do it for them.
That's right. Do it for them. I have to sell to serve the people, not sell so the people can serve me.
Yeah.
Right. And number two is, and I teach this to people, love your clients so much that you would never sell them anything that would do them harm. And so
this is really key.
It is. And by the way, loving people is a funk you can't fake.
Yeah, I agree. And I hate the old saying that, oh, they are so good they can sell ice to an Eskimo. No, I'm not going to sell ice to an Eskimo. I'm going to sell them a coat. I'm going to sell them warmer gloves. I'm going to sell them a better shelter. That's what Myron's talking about. You're selling them what they need based on the problems you help them find.
I like to say it like this. Don't use the money, don't use the people and love the money. Use the money and love the people, and take it to its ultimate extreme and use the money to love the people.
Exactly, and that's where you that's where God blesses you, where you learn these skills, you have way more abundance because you're doing it for the right reasons, 100%. Okay, so I love that. So maybe give us a mistake that you made early on in your entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah.
That maybe I learned a lot from this mistake, but man, if I would have not done that, that thing.
Greatest sales mistake I think people make is trying to get people to buy.
Tell us what you mean.
Okay. So people do things for their own reasons, not yours.
Yeah.
Most salespeople who are terrible think that selling is convincing people to buy something they don't want to buy.
Exactly.
Persuasion and convincing are not just not the same, they're actually opposites of each other. Convincing is when I attempt to get you to do something I desire you to do for my reasons. Persuasion is when I help you make a decision you already desire to make for your own reasons.
Yeah, you're doing it for them.
And people say, well, Myron, how do I find people to sell my stuff to? If you ask the wrong question, you cannot get the right answer.
That's right. Yeah.
Right? And so that's a really terrible question. How do I find people to sell my stuff to? Here's a better question.
Yeah.
Because there are already thousands, tens of thousands, millions, maybe tens of millions of people in the world who would love to buy what I'd love to sell, how can I make myself more findable for people who already would love to buy what I'd already love to sell?
Exactly.
Then selling becomes effortless.
Yeah.
Yes, you still have to have skill. Yes, you still have to understand how to help them unpack their old identity, but they already desire the transformation. They're just looking for someone who can empower them to make the decision.
Well, like I always say, Tony Robbins says a version of this. I like to take it a step further. In order to influence at the highest level, you have to get that person or people to feel like you understand them, their needs, their fears, their desires, even their wants, all of that.
All of it.
Without buying into their story.
100%.
That's the unique balance, right? Because they've already done that. They've already bought into these limiting beliefs. So if you buy into the limiting beliefs, they don't have time for this.
Right.
Okay, get back to me next month. we don't have the money for this. Okay, well, when you get the money, get back. See, you're just buying into their story, and you offer them zero value.
Right.
Because the problems stay the same, and nothing ever changes for them because you buy into their story.
Right. They sold you.
Exactly. Most of it is, if you view, like you said, that selling is something you're doing to them. So when a salesperson sells to you and you give them all this resistance and all this stuff, you're going to do you're getting the same stuff from your prospects 100%. Because you don't understand what selling actually is.
100%.
Once you really started to master that concept, because that's commitment to master, right? Only the masters would even know what we just talked about, right? It's a different level. What happened in your business, like once you really started, like, man, I'm getting this down, because I'm still learning this stuff.
I learn every day, bro.
Exactly.
Never let a day go by where I don't learn something I didn't know the day before. Exactly. Yeah, what changed is, like, money became the byproduct of excellence instead of it becoming the pursuit.
Yeah.
So
that's true. How did you get into that mindset, though? People don't just happen to get there. Like, what caused you? Like, what happened there to get you into that mindset?
Desiring to become the best version of myself, which doesn't mean Myron being better than Jeremy or better than Russell or better than Tony. Just means me being the best version of me.
True.
I don't have any competition. I'm the first, the one and only, the greatest of all times, Myron Freddie Golden, who has ever lived.
Yeah, and that is the right attitude, because think about your favorite, maybe your NBA basketball star, like LeBron James or Michael Jordan, or your favorite, Serena Williams.
You said that in reverse order. Michael Jordan and LeBron James. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I
did that for the people watching.
I did that for the LeBron fans. I love LeBron, but I'm a loyal MJ guy. I grew up, MJ. MJ is the man in high school. So, like, it doesn't matter. Serena Williams, Elon Musk, Warren Buffett, the most successful doctors, the most successful attorneys, they all share one thing in common. And this man just told you, it's the commitment to mastery, because they know that training is not something you did in the past. Training is something you do every single day.
Yes.
So if you're not training every single day, you're just gonna go backwards.
There's no standing still.
There's no standing still. So
you're going forward or backwards. You're growing or dying.
100%. So that is where commitment to mastery actually comes in. Okay, a couple last questions as we wrap this up. I wanted to go back to commitment to mastery. So, I believe this is one of the industries we train, this coaching, consulting industry, and we see a lot of people just, it's like they have success in something for like a year, and they're like, I'm going to start my own thing selling this. How do you feel about some of that? Because I feel like sometimes people don't really have the skill level or the knowledge to even do their own thing yet.
One of the biggest mistakes employees ever make is thinking that because they're good at doing a job, they think that they're going to be good at running that type of business. And they are totally different animals. Totally different animals. They're not even in the same neighborhood.
No.
And so I believe that's one of the biggest mistakes that people ever make. Nobody's great at everything, but everybody's great at something. And I believe that if everybody stayed in their lane, everybody could feel great about the work they do and how they show up to serve other people in the world.
And here's the thing, people can buy all your training. They can go through all of it, and they can go start their own thing competing against you.
Thinking
the one thing they cannot buy is your experience and your wisdom. Because they don't have the experience and wisdom themselves, they will never be 5% of what you do with clients, because they don't understand why they're doing it. And that takes experience and wisdom. That takes longevity. I had an 18-year sales career at the top of my game before I even started my own sales training company. And I see people sell for 1 year, and I'm a sales trainer now. I'm like, dude, if I would have done that after 1 year, you wouldn't know who I am. Because I wouldn't have the experience and knowledge to be able to do this in every industry. It just takes time.
It takes time. The purpose of time is becoming. The formula for success is be, do, have. The platform for success is time, space, and matter. The purpose of time is being. The purpose of space is doing. The purpose of matter is having. Be, do, have.
Be, do, have. That's a really good frame as well. Myron, that was a great interview. We're going to have to do this more often here. Where can people learn about what you do, about learning how to speak and sell from stage? Because I always say that you can be a great speaker, people can stand up and give you like an applause, but people vote based on their dollars.
100%.
And if they're buying your stuff from stage compared to just giving you a round of applause. Because giving you a round of applause, you help them a little bit, they're
Right.
not going to retain 97% of that within 30 days.
Right.
So you've got to get
You've
them
got
into your
You've got to
stuff.
sell them a course, a coaching program, a mastermind
Yeah.
that they can go study for the next year, 2 years, 3 years, so they can take the time to become the person who can do the thing.
You're not going to do that in a 2 or 3 day seminar or an hour and a half training. So where can they go to learn more about what you do and get some
like if they go to MyronGolden.com,
Okay.
pretty much they can find anything they need to know about our coaching programs, about our challenges, about our books, whatever.
Yeah. Go to MyronGolden.com. MyronGolden.com. We'll put that in the show notes. And if you have questions, if you're like, hey, how do I learn how to frame for what I sell? I sell solar or SaaS or life insurance or whatever you sell. Easiest way to get a hold of me is simply to text me. So I'm going to give you the number 480-637-2944. Myself and a few of our sales trainers lock ourselves in a room about an hour a day, and we actually answer your text messages. Myron, it's been a pleasure.
Pleasure's been mine,
it's
bro.
a great interview.
Fantastic.
All right.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next show.